And action.
Okay, thank you those who have remained, stalwarts. This is the last hour of the presentations. We had two scheduled for today. We still might have two in the next hour, but the first presentation listed in the schedule has not connected to the Google Hangout. That was the iScholar project. They're from University of Trent in the UK, where it is now just past quarter after 3 in the morning. So when we communicate by email, they may not have known that until they checked the schedule. It might partly explain their absence. It's easier to show up for your presentation when you're in the room, we've discovered. We have 4 people presenting. The title of their work, Mobile Devices and Mobility Learners, exploring the 2 sides of learning content in education. 4 people. Briefly reading their bios. Rick Grant is a lecturer in the School of Languages and Culture at the University, or Auckland University of Technology. Philippa Smith is the research manager at the Institute of Culture, Discourse, and Communication, and a senior lecturer in the School of Language and Culture, where she has taught on the iCommunicate paper since 2012. We'll hear more about that paper in the presentation. Claire Conway is a senior lecturer in the School of Language and Culture at Auckland University, and she has co-developed the first iCommunicate paper. And Vikal Narayan is a teaching and learning consultant at the Center for Teaching and Learning at Auckland University of Technology. Their talk, we haven't got the bio, or rather the abstract in the short program, but you may have read it in the document that was available online, deals partly with the notion of learner-generated content and context, so it touches on issues that relate to a number of papers that we've heard already today and that we'll hear again tomorrow. Well, my name, by the way, is Mark McGuire from the University of Otago. I teach design there. I'll have a talk tomorrow that's touching on some of the same topics you're talking about. These individuals are interested in the learning experience by the students who are involved in a course called iCommunicate. It's part of their Bachelor of Arts in English and New Media Studies program here at AUT University. There's at least one panel, I think, here that talks about that program and its development. I'll just let them take it from here, I think. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mark. Thanks to everybody for hanging on in there on the first day. And I know that friends are probably not far away, so if you can sit there with us. Just wanted to start off by actually stating the obvious, really. And when I say stating the obvious, my opening line for this presentation was that it was only a matter of time before mobile devices became not just a way of teaching at university, but a tool for which students could use to generate content. But obviously, you know, I'm preaching to converted here because you all know that, but I guess what I really wanted to indicate is that the constituents here are very much sort of design orientated. We have had help, presenting as well, but what we really wanted to indicate is that mobile devices are actually going further within other sort of faculties and schools. They're probably not catching on quite so quickly, but the reality is that there is a reason for them to be there, and this is what our presentation is about today. So my colleagues, Lynn Grant, Claire Conway, and I are going to demonstrate how our involvement in a research project enabled us to assess the impact of the introduction of mobile technology in the making of short documentary films and using social media in a paper called iCommunicate. And as Mark said, this is one of the core papers of the BA in English and New Media Studies. iCommunicate is a 15-point undergraduate paper. In earlier years, we taught students how to make their own enhanced podcasts and apply communication theory to a range of topics. With the rapid advances of technology and the need to engage students more thoroughly in the learning process, the paper was redesigned in 2013 with a focus on student groups making movies with mobile devices, as in their smartphones or tablets. But I do have to point out this is not a movie-making course. It is a course in communicating a message, in using the technology to communicate that message, but actually to learn as well. So the students were required to make an 8 to 10 minute movie in groups, to research a chosen topic and include references, apply theory, and use augmented reality, which we'll talk a bit later about. So in addition, we introduced several platforms of social media for communication between students and between students and lecturers, so that the learning took place outside classroom classroom as well as within. The learning outcomes in the redesigned paper remain essentially the same, a focus on students' ability to research and create production and communicate and collaborate to present their ideas through the medium of a movie on a mobile device instead of as a typical in-house podcast. But crucial to the redesign of this paper was the need to assess actually how well it worked, which was the purpose of the research project, which we did with the assistance of Vikul Naran from CFAC, Centre for Learning and Teaching at AUT, and he was the technological whiz who helped us greatly here. So it needs to be pointed out, as I said before, that the students, it wasn't a movie making course, it was all about communicating research. So the objectives of the research were to assess the impact of the mobile technology both as a teaching tool and as a production tool, and to answer the questions: how did the lecturers and the students adapt to using mobile technology? What were the challenges? What were the benefits? And what did we learn from the project? So our observations and reflections took place over 3 semesters from mid-2013 through this year. And there were 2 or 3 streams of the paper each semester, depending on the number of students. I think Ellen's gone already, but I'd love to skip over all the theory and that term, but I thought we would mention it anyway. Next slide. So we used a design-based research approach because this entailed observing and reflecting on the effectiveness of the new paper and the student experience. And as I said before, that we consulted with Vikul about how to do things and what worked and what didn't. So as Emil and Reeve state, design-based research can address some of the deficiencies of other research methods in investigating the role of tools and techniques in the classroom. So this gave us flexibility in testing out various ideas in the teaching of the students, particularly in relation to aspects such as implementing the augmented reality, applying the theories, and looking at how we assess students and what students gain from the paper. Yeah, and so I also have the fun of trying to pronounce these words too. Part of my job. So central to measuring the impact of mobile learning in our research was what Cochrane calls the mapping of the pedagogy, andragogy, pedagogy continuum, or as I prefer to call it, the PAH continuum. So pedagogy involves the teacher-driven or managed classes, andragogy moves to a more learner-driven and teacher-managed environment, and the pedagogy reaches the stage of learner-driven and learner-managed situation. In other words, the gradual redesign of the paper has seen students become self-directed and learner-centred when it comes to creating their smartphone movies. Yet at the same time, we've continued to meet the core pedagogic requirements of the university. So I've done my bit very fast, only from the point of view it's much more exciting to see some of the movies and hear about what the students did. So I'm going to pass over to Claire for the next stage of the presentation.
So the students worked in groups and they chose their own movie topic, and initially we asked them to choose from the general area of urban archaeology. So researching and analysing some point of interest within the Auckland City landscape. So we had people who did a movie about RT Square, we had somebody else in the middle top there who looked at the Civic Theatre, somebody looked at the Grafton Cemetery. We also had somebody who looked at coffee in Auckland and then went on to indicate where coffee was grown in the world, so for example in Brazil. Most of the students on the paper, as Philippa said, were from the Bachelor of English and New Media Studies, but we also had students who were doing a paper instead of doing, they were studying in the area of creative writing, New Zealand Sign Language, Deaf Studies, Japanese, and its translation, interpreting, Chinese, and international studies. So these students could choose something related to their own area of study. So some group from the Japanese stream actually created their own anime, did their own artwork, and looked at the topic of friendship. Bottom right, another group looked at homestays in Auckland, and that raised a number of issues about cross-cultural communication. So a range of topics. Then we decided we would actually broaden that range of topics. We were getting so many other interesting things. and we thought it could give the students more flexibility and to research and communicate about something that they were really passionate about or wanted to find out more because they had a personal interest. So on the top left, you can see this is a clip from a movie that some students made about raising awareness about ISIS. And they went down Queen Street a few weeks ago and filmed the march about ISIS and interviewed some of the people about their thoughts and then reflected themselves about what awareness they had come to. We had another group in the centre here with Patience, Courage, Forgiveness. They made a movie about raising bullying, awareness of bullying and sort of ways of dealing with it. We had movies about Auckland City Dance. Down here on the bottom left, there was the cafe culture in Auckland. In the middle, there was one about skateboarding, and on the bottom right, one about feminism. So a lot of really interesting topics. So we'll talk about our findings. There were a number of findings, but we'll just talk about a few of them. First of all, from our observations of the student experience, and then about the lecturer experience, and some of the further changes that we made as a result of our reflections. With regard to the student experience, most of the students had no previous background in making movies on a mobile device. And so it was quite a challenge for them to produce something that was a movie that was educational, that had to be informative. We asked them to apply a particular theory, their choice to it, and it also had to be entertaining, something that people wanted to watch. So they did find that quite a challenge. But a significant finding for us was the level of creativity and resourcefulness that they displayed. So they were very creative in trying out different film techniques. So for example, they made use of time-lapse photography, stop motion, graphics, inserted stills. They experimented with lighting. There was filming that they did from high up on the top story of the building, right down to filming that they did low down to the ground from a skateboard. So we'd like to just show you this clip from the skateboarding movie, which shows some of the techniques that they themselves worked out how to go and experimented with. Let's move forward to 54.
It's all good. So, how was that, man? How'd that feel?
Felt great.
What does steady mean to you?
It means
Freedom.
it means expression.
Sometime around the late 1940s, early 50s, surfers in California tried to find something they could surf on when the waves were flat. The origin of modern skateboarding was sparked while transferring the wave to the street by attaching roller skate wheels to simple wooden boards. Since then, we've gone through a few changes.
And it's a pricey sport for kids with generous parents or people with enough coin to cover the stuff.
So they went on to explore skateboarding, which was obviously their passion and what it meant to them, and convey some ideas about it. Students, we found, were also very creative at exploring different genres. So we had movies that were like a television magazine program. We had documentaries, anime that I mentioned before, and also mockumentaries. And they, sometimes the students asked interview questions off screen. Sometimes they actually interviewed in another language and put subtitles underneath so people could follow. They used narratives. Some students chose to appear in the movie as presenters, or sometimes as actors of fictional roles. And this clip at the bottom here is from the video about raising awareness of bullying. And it starts off with some dramatisation, and then the movie goes on to interview people in different organisations about the work that's being done in Auckland in schools with bullies and their victims.
So this whole area of bullying is a massive deal, and you made me think.
That actually then moves into colour in a number of organisations that are looking at programs to deal with bullying. That gives you an idea, I think, of the student creativity that took place, and also the learning in terms of collaborating to produce a movie that created a message for an audience. From the perspective of the lecturers, what we learned, we found that the community practice was really, really important. So this community was made up of us and Pickle, the learning advisor, and we had regular meetings so that we could discuss things that were happening, tensions, things that were working well, what needed changing, and basically reflect on the redesign of the program. And as we reflected, we made a number of changes. We can't talk about all of them, but we'll just mention 3, the introduction of augmented reality, the introduction of social media, and applying the theory. Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Contaminated.
Thank you all.
Just make that feel much better than it's in.
Yeah.
You don't have to, you have really good things in it.
Here we go.
I've got someone in the back of the room, not named Gerda, saying this is all about Google.
No, it's 27.
Oh, yeah. I can tell you what we did. We can get to the example to show you. Basically, we decided to introduce augmented reality to the program. So students had to geotag a point of interest, for example, Queen's Wharf or Britain Art, and put that into the movie. It was a new skill for communicating, and we thought it would be something that would be really useful for the students to learn to enhance their experience as they made the movie, and also their knowledge of new media. And we've got a lovely example.
I think we're pushing the technology to its limit.
It's a really interesting movie of a student who spoke for 10 minutes passionately about why she's a feminist, and she used the augmented reality in that to supplement her examples. So, yeah.
That one there?
Yeah.
No, play it safe.
But just because we have it good doesn't mean the rest of the world does too. So here's why I'm a feminist. Because more than 125 million girls and women alive today have been victims of female genital mutilation in 29 countries in Africa and the Middle East where it occurs most often. Because every year, 15 million girls are married before their 18th birthday. Because in Saudi Arabia and Vatican City, women still don't have the right to vote. Because in Yemen, a woman is considered to be only half a witness. Because in Ecuador, abortions have long been outlawed for everyone but idiots and the demented. Because in Saudi Arabia, women still can't drive. Because in Yemen, women can't leave the house without their husband's permission. Because in Saudi Arabia and Morocco, female rape victims can be charged with crimes for failing to leave the house without a male companion. Because 1 in every 6 women and 1 in 33.
So you can see there how she was using the geotagging. Okay, I'll hand over to Lynn, who's going to tell you about the other introduction of social media to the paper and the application of theory and summarise the developments.
Might be tell rather than show. We still have the same problems. A couple of forms of the new media that students used on the paper were the Google Plus community, which other people have spoken about today, and WordPress blogs. There was one particularly interesting WordPress blog that could be advanced with that. In the WordPress blog, students could leave comments about each other's movies or for each other, or they could also give an example. For example, this particular WordPress blog is one about the awareness of ISIS movies. So they not only on the blog had clips of each other and their own awareness. Some of them were questioning why exactly were they doing this movie on awareness of ISIS. They didn't know anything about ISIS. And the one Pacific Island woman in the group said, in the end, she realized it had to do with religious freedom, and that this is very important to her. She wasn't able to practice her own religion. Otherwise, they had clips from CNN, from BBC News, different interviews. All of this was on the WordPress blog that the 4 in the group could then comment on and share ideas, like the march down Queen Street and participating in that. So for some, it also helped us as lecturers distribute grades when we knew the participation, how much were the different group members participating for the making of the movie. So that was important for us. One of the hard parts, of course, for students is the idea of theory. We asked them to choose a theory that applied to the movies.
what we did is in each of the 1 hour lectures each week, we introduced them to do some research themselves to see if they could find a theory that would fit. And we talked to them about it in the 2 hour computer studio class. And so they were able to identify different movies. One particularly interesting one, good job. The students who did the movie on hardcore punk, at the end of the movie, it's meant to be silent for this part.
Whilst filming our documentary, we compared the community to the social identity theory put forward by Henry Tajfel. What we found was a group-based identity within the Auckland punk and hardcore scene that encourages inclusion among people who don't fit social norms and allows them to freely express themselves through music and politics within a community environment. The scene is created by like-minded people as a way to rebel against society's ideals in favour of carving their own paths. Those who actively participate, such as musicians, often become attracted to inspiring others within this group-based community, helping to influence and form their values and how they respond to social issues.
So, as I said, it was interesting the different theories that they chose. Some chose more than one, and how they applied it to the movie. So we found this is important for the educational side of things as well. So, in terms of the paper development, basically, as Philippa said, we started out in semester 1 of 2003, where it was the first time we had moved from the enhanced podcast to students in groups making a movie. So we had the mobile movies, mobile-made movies, and we made augmented reality optional. Then in semester 2, when we had Vickle join the group, we added the Google Plus community as a forum for them to communicate with each other and communicate with us as lecturers. We also added a formative assessment. We found the first time we ran it, having only a single assessment at the end of week 12 was a bit, students will be students and they will inevitably leave things to the last minute. So by us introducing them doing a movie trailer halfway through in week 6, it meant we could see if they were on track and if they needed suggestions or guidance. And it gave other group members good ideas about what different people were doing with the movies. We also added different theories and extended the range. This time we were encouraging augmented reality, but still not making it compulsory. Then in semester 2 this year, we added different theories like narrative theory. We added the WordPress blog and more detailed instruction for augmented reality. But it wasn't until semester 2 this year that we added the use of augmented reality in the movies as an assessment criteria, where it was compulsory for them to use it. And how well they were able to do that, again, allowed us more range in the grades. And so this is how we saw the paper progressing over the 4 semesters. Yeah. And in terms of the challenges, there were challenges both to us as lecturers as well as to the students. However, we feel that we're all on a learning curve and we've all gained in our knowledge of the use of mobile technology. Benefits both to us as staff members is pushing us. We are not digital natives. The majority of our students are. We're very much digital immigrants, and we were having to move along that continuum and increase our own learning. And in terms of what we learned from the project, as well as increasing our technology, we also learned about the mobility of mobile learning. If students are given too much mobility, you never see them, basically. And so we had to get them to tell us if they weren't going to be in the 2-hour computer studio. They were very welcome to go out, have a coffee, talk about the movie, do filming, but they had to report to us. And we're still encouraging that, and we might have to encourage it even more. But we did learn a lot both students and staff. And we'd be happy to answer any questions if people have any.
Thank you. A few minutes for questions. Anyone? I have one while you're thinking. You've used blogging, Google Groups, and so on. Were any of those sites public?
Yeah, the Google Plus community was not public.
Mm-hmm.
The
WordPress blog?
The WordPress blogs were generally for the group as well as the lecturers. However, it was interesting when we saw that clip of the movie on feminism. The students were told they had to upload their videos into the Google Plus community, the movies, but they could also upload them to YouTube, and a number of people chose to do that. The interesting thing about the feminist movie is that she's had a number of comments from people, most of them positive, some a little bit resentful that she's covering it very much from a female point of view. But she's had interesting discussions back and forth with people, and one person that started out a bit negative by the end was apologizing to her and saying, oh yes, you can see where she was coming from.
So that we've sort of achieved an aim there because we want the students to communicate, and it's promoted a sort of
So some chose to communicate outside the class.
Yeah.
Before
Yeah.
they did that. Thanks.
Common maybe is really to encourage the next year to get open call again how the skate of the
Yeah, we were impressed with
there's like so many you know skateboard movies also that are shot with like mobile smartphones, but it's still also a nice sort of look back and sort of reflect the movies and also like the other ones.
The other opportunity.
Young filmmakers from the women, so I think it would be really great to encourage them to submit.
Yes.
There's another opportunity for the students, isn't it? There's the screens that we've got around AUT. We've been asked whether we can choose some of the best ones to go up, so that they can actually be showcased within the university as well. So yeah, great opportunity. So it gives them the confidence, that they can actually communicate the message. But a lot of them, have no experience at all in making movies, and they're, self-taught in many ways with some assistance from limited assistance. So yeah, it's a good thing.
Question?
You talked about finding the limits for students. Does it teach out of the class?
They knew that part of it, they had to, in the final week of the class, all as groups, show the movies to all of the class. In week 6, when they do the movie trailers, they could get feedback from the students about what other students liked or didn't like, or they couldn't hear, or they needed to write some words on the screen because the quality wasn't clear, that sort of thing. So in week 12, the audience was the students, but they were aware that the audience was very much the lecturers who were graded there.
But in the creation of their movies, they were at totally free reign to choose what genre they wanted and what their own audience was. So while yes, the marking was to us and to the students, they basically they could do what they like, which is why we've got such variety.
And they chose their own group members.
Did you workshop if you put in the effective communication, but did you raise ideas for the audience and how
we did ask them, who are you making this for? Sometimes they didn't have very clear ideas. They just said, or anybody who's interested in Japanese dining. But I think, for example, the bullying awareness people are actually involved in the community in raising bullying awareness. So I think they may well use it, or they were thinking of a wider audience, perhaps a school audience.
We would do a lecture once a week as well as the computer labs. And besides talking about theory, we talked about things like media literacy and also narrative theory, etc. So not that it was a complete course in how to do things, but it was an indication of think about this and go and do some research and find out more. So that's where we come back to very much the student-driven, learner-generated.
What level was the course again?
Year 2.
Year 2.
We asked them to think about what message they were trying to get across in the movie. We didn't want this to be a series of shots. We wanted there to be some sort of message.
Good question?
Thank you. I really enjoyed it, and particularly when people about something that's so completely different, including yourselves, because it makes this assessment and even the assessment of I was thinking about some of the issues just about audience and narrative communication. Did that then help them determine the genre that they were going to use? So, and did they do tests beforehand with the genres? Because that would have been important as well.
They could do a little bit of testing because they did the trailer.
Yeah.
So that was a chance to try out a lot of ideas and techniques and think about the genre.
And sometimes they would choose a theory, and we would discuss that with them to say, how exactly are you going to apply that to your movie? And when they thought about it, they might then choose another theory, realizing that the first theory they chose didn't apply very well to the movie.
They also had the advantage that we would show them some clips from previous students, so they could see what other people have done, which I think helped to inform them, because, as I say, we had a number of times that the creative writing students actually chose to act roles in their movies, which I'm actually very impressed with their acting talents in general. It was great. So, I mean, there's a lot of freedom here for the students, but yes, they need some direction. And Claire and I, within our computer labs, would actually go around and consult with each group and say, okay, where are you at now? What are you thinking? How do you think it might work? So we could offer advice, but really it came down to their decision-making.
It did, and Vika was available in the Google Plus community. So we tried to make it clear to them, we are not experts in movie making, we are experts in communication. And if you have questions about technology, about editing a movie, Vika was able to do part of a lecture on the editing, but also they were free to put questions to him in the Google Plus community.
One question. I'm just a bit wondering if it actually was augmented reality with the maps, because my understanding is that augmented reality is an overlay on the live view, but it seemed more like a post-production thing, like a graphic.
Yeah,
it was sort of only a first attempt at it. We need to work more on that to get them to take it to the.
They also kind of create a Wikitube layer. Wikitube, it's an augmented viewer on a mobile device. So, like the points of interest which students study, that actually becomes a layer itself. So the picture on the bottom left,
which is cafe culture.
So that's the story the students put together by talking to the different cafe owners and baristas about.
Oh yeah, that makes total sense. But the one with the travel in the countries, that doesn't make sense. She's literally in the plane because it's a light. It's, you know what I mean?
So it's again pushing
it's referencing it.
Yeah, it's pushing that normal traditional boundary of movie making, because if you talk about Brazil or some other country, a small country, people wouldn't know where it is, but they actually give them that opportunity within the movie. It's actually a bit more powerful. That's where the notion of pedagogy comes in. It's like students having the opportunity to push themselves beyond what's needed in the course. They actually do something which is useful when they've actually done it, and then the skills which they can then transfer to anything else they're interested in. That's what we're seeing in the movies which the lady made about feminism, skateboarders, things like that. They're actually exploring their passion, and in that process they're learning skills which might actually help them. So again, it's pushing the boundary of communication. It's using modern technologies to explore how it impacts on the genre and how you can utilize these affordances.
Ultimately, with augmented reality, we would like to see them geotagging a place and putting the link to their YouTube video on, so you can actually walk past the art gallery, hold up your mobile phone, see the geotag, link into it, and then you've got a movie about it. So, as I say,
take us several more semesters to get there.
Yeah, you can see our timetable as we're building and stuff, actually, as we become more confident.
We're just introducing the idea.
Yes, but we have to push the students to do it, because if they don't think that they have to do it, then they won't.
It's a double-edged sword. It's like also working with the students, but at the same time making sure that we are up with the plate. So yeah, we could go 100 miles an hour, but if we don't know what we're doing ourselves as educators, then it becomes a problem that fast. So it's actually making sense as we're going. And we know these things are available out there, but it's actually exploring it, knowing how it works, and then going in with the students, because at the end of the day, you're in front of the class. whenever there's problem, you get asked, how do I do this? So this isn't working, how do I troubleshoot it? That becomes, it's a parallel process.
And there's only 12 weeks for them to do it from the beginning. So by the time they get into groups, by the time they sort out who's doing what, how we're going to do it, what's our idea, what's our topic, changing their topic.
Your weekend by then.
And they see the trailers and they think, oh, that's so good, we want to do something else. So, you know, and plus they've got other subjects to do as well. So.
Let's thank our 4 presenters. Thanks very much. Did you assume the other group is a no-show?
No, it's a no-show.
Oh dear.
Thank you very much for presenting.
Thank you very much.
The responsibility to share it with you.
I'm sure we'll be able to.
Witnesses, huh? I said to share.
Definitely witnesses. I'm sure we can do this in
Hey, look at that, perfectly on time, despite the fact that there is one missing presentation. We're 2 minutes before 5. It's exactly what time we were planning to finish. Thank you, Mark, for chairing the session. So unfortunately, yeah, I think I miscalculated. I thought it was 5 in the morning, but it's 3. But anyway, so we had an email, they're not responding. So unfortunately, the people from UK are not presenting. So that's pretty much all. Huh? I've got probably 2 more minutes to show you something that, because you are here and because you are part of exclusive elite who stay so long. I would like to show something that no one will never see again. So last year, well, this year actually in February, sorry, there was the UNESCO Mobile Learning Week, and we had I had the honor to see David applying for presidency of a UNESCO. But you will never see that anywhere except here. So and then he had also that supporting. David, president of the UNESCO. So it's an exclusivity at MENA for the next elections at the UNESCO. Yes, so let me just switch over that gadget here. So thank you very much for coming, for engaging with us today. We've got some food here, if you want to grab something. We've got another hour to break and to stretch our legs and to have a brief. And at 6 o'clock, we've got Gerda and Max presenting the second screening of the evening. If you want just to make your way to WG043, where are we? We've changed 3 times the booking of the room, so I'm getting fast. But it's the big amphitheater downstairs, probably a 5:45. Just get somewhere in the foyer and we see Max and Gerda waving everyone. So do you know the room? The room number?
Biggest room we can find.
The biggest amphitheater down there.
Level 4.
Yes, level 4. Yes. Tomorrow we're starting again at 9 o'clock for the second part of MENA, so day number 2, with keynotes from Marsha, from Gerda, from Max, and myself, and we will have a set of different presentations. Good food as well coming up again tomorrow. What else can I say? Well, thank you very much. I'm very pleased about the conversations. And if you want to know more about some presentations or slideshow or PowerPoint or URL, check the hashtag MENA2014 on Twitter or Google+. And I will also send the link via Twitter tonight about all the presentations. Oh, yes, sorry. Why we did that and why we're struggling with technology, because we're pushing the limits of Hangout on Air, which is Hangout, a video conference via Google product, and recorded directly on YouTube. So all the sessions have been recorded and broadcasted live on YouTube, so it's archived already on YouTube. So if you want to have access to it, it's already available. Okay, and it's still running. I need to stop that session. Stop broadcasting.